The following is a presentation of the Miracle League Sports Network. Welcome back, everyone, to Baseball Brain, the Miracle League Mercer County podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Milo, alongside Dan Schweck and Tyler Bradshaw, the executive director of the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League Fields, our guest for this episode.
Tyler, welcome. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Harrison. I'm glad to be connected with you guys and looking forward to a good conversation.
It's going to be a lot of
featured athletes came out. I don't know when they came out, but they are Joe Mauer, Todd Hilton, Adrian Beltry.
That's right.
Jim Leyland, Hank Aaron, Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth, and Sajal Page.
You're going all the way back.
It's a pretty good list of current guys getting in, right?
Right.
I like to see Joe Mauer and Jim Leyland on that list. Two very deserving guys.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I was a third baseman by trade, so I was very happy to see Adrian Beltre get in. That guy was something, the way he could play.
Yes, he was.
Are those Are all the ones I just read the ones that are getting in this year? Oh, they're already in.
I believe it was Mauer and yesterday as part of the class, and then Jimmy Leyland, the former manager of the Pirates, the Marlins.
He was with the Tigers for a little bit, right?
Yeah, with the Tigers with Casey, with Sean Casey.
Yeah.
He was elected, Harrison, by the subcommittee they have, the player and coach committee, where they vote in coaches and other players that might have missed on the writers' ballot, but they still have an opportunity to get in otherwise. Hanging out for hope for Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly with that one. Hope he gets in somehow.
Where is the ballot? Fill that out.
So it's the Baseball Writers Association of America.
I should know that. Why do I not know that?
You know now, right?
Or I should have known that.
We got to get you, Harrison. We got to get you on. We got to get your credentials set up so that you're part of the baseball media there, so they can give you a Hall of Fame ballot.
I have all my grandfather's credentials upstairs.
Very cool.
Tyler. Fun fact about Harrison: his grandfather was a beat writer for the New York Mets, so he wrote for. At the end of his career at MLB.com, but he also wrote for the Bergen Record in North Jersey. I'm probably forgetting a couple others, Harrison. I don't know if you can fill the blanks in there, but Newsday, yeah, pretty cool stuff. So,
and you're just following in his footsteps, Harrison. This is exciting.
We're setting him up. We're gonna get him working for MLB Network someday.
Maybe
we'll get Casey to help him get him in.
Yeah, I hear he's got a few connections there. Right.
Here's the voting results. Adrian Beltre, Todd Hilton, and Joe Mauer, like I said.
Mm-hmm. I don't believe so. He was a lifetime Rockies player. I'm not sure where their minor league affiliate was, but I know he wasn't with Trenton Thunder. Great guy, though. He actually played... he was a football player. He played football at University of Tennessee. He was friends with Peyton Manning. So pretty cool connection there.
And then we also have Jim Leyland, who was voted the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee for the class of 2024.
That's right. Interesting group. I think there were a couple people that were surprised. Billy Wagner looks like he just missed. He was, I think, at like 74%. Mm-hmm. He missed by like 3 or 4 votes. He was really close, and when you look at some of his numbers, he was right up there with Mo Rivera and Trevor Hoffman is potentially one of the best closers of all time. So he should be getting in. He should be getting in next year.
So the full ones were Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer, Billy Wagner, Gary Sheffield, Andrew Jones.
You're going through the whole list there.
Carlos
That's the whole class.
Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Rodriguez, Chase Utley, Omar Vizquel, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Andy Petty, Mark, I can't read it, Burley,
Burley.
Mark Burley, Francisco Rodriguez, Torrey Hunter, David Wright, and future ballots, but I'm not going to read that, so.
Yeah, it looks
those
like
must have been all the guys on the ballot, right? Or some of them, at least.
Yeah. And I think Torrey Hunter and David Wright just cleared. I think they made 7%. You have to maintain at least 5% of the votes each year of your 10 years eligible in order to stay on the ballot. If you drop below 5%, you're out.
I'm assuming the rest of them, there's the last 5% will drop off. Are they the ones that didn't get in?
Yeah, so if you, like I said, if they're 5% or they're below 5%, they don't carry over to the next year ballot. But you have guys like Manny and A-Rod who are like stuck in the 30s, like low 40s, and nobody, they're not moving. It doesn't look like anybody else is going to be voting for them for the Hall of Fame. They're probably not going to make it. Do you want to start firing some questions at Tyler?
Yeah, I just got to look them up again because now I forget them.
I'll probably forget them by the time you ask them, Harrison, so that's okay.
Okay.
Harrison's host, producer, executive producer.
He's got a full slate. We got to get this kid some assistance, you know?
We do. We have to get him some assistance.
All right. Because you live in Cincinnati, do you know any current Reds players?
Well, I do have the privilege of knowing one, and as of a week ago, I couldn't say this, but Brent Suter, who just got signed to a contract for the Reds, he's a reliever, and Brent pitched for the Milwaukee Brewers. He pitched for the Rockies last year. Interestingly enough, I was one of Brent's announcers when he played in college, so I did some baseball announcing stuff here in Cincinnati, and I announced for a team that was called the Hamilton Joes. It's a wood bat baseball team that plays during the summer, named after Joe Nuxhall. That's where the name comes from in my connection. So I was their announcer when they formed the team back in 2009, and Brent was one of the pitchers. He was actually a student at Harvard at the time, and he came back to pitch. He grew up in Cincinnati, and he and I have kept in touch and ever since then, and kind of followed his career. And he helps us out at the Miracle League field. And had my fingers crossed. I'm like, man, someday it would be awesome to see Brent in a Reds uniform. And about a week ago, got to see that dream come true. And I know Brent is super excited to be pitching for his hometown team, and it'll allow him to do a lot of stuff here around our Miracle League in greater Cincinnati. So yeah, and I've had the pleasure of meeting lots of guys on the team and things, but Brent is probably the Red that I'm closest with, and we're definitely rooting for him this upcoming season.
Is he going right to majors, or is he going minors?
So he's actually pitched in the majors now. This will probably be Brent's 6th or 7th year in the big leagues. Brent started out, he was drafted, and then I think started out in either single A or double A, and then worked his way up, and he was on those really good Brewers teams that we had for a while. And Brent, truthfully, as much as he's known for his pitching ability, if you get on Twitter or YouTube or any of those websites, you'll find Brent is really good at impressions. He's a really funny guy, and he does a killer Jim Carrey impersonation. He does the Will Ferrell version of Harry Carey from SNL. He does Elmo and Gollum and all these hilarious impressions. So at our big fundraiser every year, Brent gets up on stage and does some really good impressions. But he actually got Jim Carrey to tweet. He and the Brewers did like a Dumb and Dumber kind of knockoff with the Brewers. The guys.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and Jim Carrey retweeted it and responded and everything. So yeah, he's a hilarious dude, and he's going to be fun to watch with this Reds team for sure.
How did you get in your relationship with the Miracle League of the South?
I was the announcer for this team called the Hamilton Joes, which was named after Joe Nuxhall. And for your listeners out there, Harrison, who don't know who Joe Nuxhall was, he's He's got a record in Major League Baseball that will probably never, ever be broken. He's the youngest player to ever pitch in a Major League Baseball game. So, Harrison, how old are you, buddy?
14.
You're 14. So, Joe Nuxhall, when he was a 14-year-old, was actually being recruited by the Reds to pitch, and he ended up pitching in his very first game at age 15. So he played in a game versus the St. Louis Cardinals when he was 15 years old on June 10th, 1944. He got the first 2 outs, and then he ended up he faced off against Stan Musial, and we all know what's likely going to happen there. So he gets batted around, gives up about 7 runs, and ends up going down into the minor leagues. But came back, played for the Reds for 16 years. I like illustrations and I like props. I've got his bobblehead, so that was him as a 15-year-old right there. And then he became a broadcaster, and he was a broadcaster for the Reds for about 40 years. Another prop. He was part of probably one of the best broadcasting duos in the world. So Marty Brennaman and Joe Nuxhall, they announced together for 31 years for the Reds. Really dynamic partnership, and Joe was really well known in our community. I grew up, I was a horrible athlete, but I loved sports, and I listened to Marty and Joe on the radio almost every night. And I decided when I went to college, I said, I can't play baseball, but I'm gonna figure out a way to announce it. So I started doing some announcing stuff. And then at the same time, we were building the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League fields in Fairfield, a suburb of Cincinnati. And I got to know the Nuxhall family, and they asked me to come out and announce a charity softball game, and this was my first exposure ever to Miracle League Baseball, and it changed everything about me because I had no idea that these kind of leagues existed, and I was excited to see this facility being built in my community. So in 2012, we opened the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League fields. I kept doing the announcing stuff, eventually became a board member, and then when they said they were looking to hire somebody to be their executive director, I knew I wanted it. So I went after the job, and now I've been in that job for about 2 years, and it's been a real blessing for me. I love everything about our facility and what we do at the Miracle League Fields and what you guys are doing in New Jersey and all of our friends across the country. It's fun stuff. So that's how I got involved.
So we have a shared friend, shared league friend in the South Hills. Talk about how that dynamic came together, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's a great question. So Sean Casey, who is kind of the name and face and the mayor of the Miracle League of the South Hills, that mayor tag actually came from his time in Cincinnati. He's a Reds Hall of Famer. He was a Reds first baseman, and I would venture to say probably one of the most popular Reds of all time. People in this community love Sean Casey, and I was no different. I've actually got his bobblehead on a shelf somewhere here in this office. But Sean ended up, he and Joe Nuxhall were really close friends. So Joe was a broadcaster, Sean was a player, and they got to know each other really well. And when Sean was building his Miracle League over in Pennsylvania, we were building ours here in Cincinnati at the same time. And on opening day, Sean actually, we have these cornfields, I think like you guys do too, around our facility. Yeah, did you see the picture of Sean Casey coming out of the cornfields?
Yeah,
it's so cool.
Cool. Yeah,
Before
we had the Field of Dreams music playing over the speakers, and we had some vintage ball players who came out with him. It was an incredible moment. I still get goosebumps thinking about that day and that moment. But Sean has been a big supporter of our work and what we do, and we've had a great connection with him for a long time. And a couple years ago, Kim Nuxhall, who is Joe Nuxhall's son, who's also very close with Sean Casey, they were talking and said, man, how awesome would it be to give our players the opportunity to have a road game experience? And Tim Gebhardt, who's our friend Dan and my counterpart over at the Miracle League of the South Hills, 2 years ago he brought the South Hills Pirates over to our facility for kind of the first ever Miracle Series game. And then this summer we all got together down in Gatlinburg in Pigeon Forge and got to experience that at the Ripken facility. And then this upcoming year we will be taking about 50 of our athletes over to South Hills to play, and they'll get to go to a Reds and Pirates game. So it's really exciting. But yeah, from day one, Sean has just been an incredible supporter and ambassador for our work. Every time he's in Cincinnati, he comes out and helps us out in any way he can. So they just don't make him any better than Sean Casey. He's an incredible dude, and we're lucky to have him on our team.
I couldn't agree more when it comes to Casey. I mean, what he's done and what Timmy's done to kind of facilitate getting us all together. I know we've talked about it a couple times on this podcast. You know, the experience of going down to Tennessee was just unbelievable, and for us to finally meet there, was really cool. And I'm looking forward to doing more events like that in the future.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to keep getting all of our players together from all across the country. And, all of our facilities and all of our places that we play and our programs are all a little bit different, right? Yes, we all have Miracle League in our names, but how we do things is always different. And I'm constantly learning from watching you guys in New Jersey. And Tim, look at that. Harrison's got the cup and everything.
I'm sure you have it too.
Wait, were these like a give out that I missed out on? How did I not get one?
The kids got them. The kids got them.
Okay.
I had to go. Right, I had to go into the store and buy it, which I was totally okay doing. Totally okay doing.
But you have the wrong one. You have the Aberdeen one.
Oh wait, yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Because I took my travel baseball team a month later to Aberdeen, Maryland for their tournament. But I didn't realize I have the Pigeon Forge one at home.
Man, that's a good eye, Harrison. That's you
can't get anything
have the
past
baseball
this guy.
brain, but he's got the baseball eye too. That's good.
Can't get anything past this guy. He's good.
And then last but not least, my last question for you is how did you fundraise for the trip to the Ripken Experience Pigeon Forge for the Miracle Series?
That's a really good question, Harrison. And these trips, just like with any trip, traveling is expensive, right? And when you think about all the costs that go into a program like that, you've got to pay for hotels, you've got to pay for uniforms, you've got to pay for buses, you've got to pay for meals. There's lots of things, and then we've got our own mascot, Joey the Can-Do Kangaroo. We got to pay for a kangaroo to go on the road with us, right? So it gets pretty pricey. We really wanted to connect with people in our community who saw that same dream, who saw the value of, hey, these are players that never thought they'd have an opportunity to go on the road and play the game of baseball, and now they do if you can help. So we had some incredible people that stepped up. We had one lady in particular that said, how many players are you taking? And we told her we were going to have about 30 players and volunteers, and she said, I want to donate $100 for every single person to knock it off the fee that they're going to have to pay, which was a huge help. Then we had another organization, the ARC of Butler County, which is the region that we live in, and they said, hey, we want to donate $100 for every player to sponsor their way, which was great. Then we had an awesome company in Hamilton, Ohio, which is called Headline Sportswear. And they design custom uniforms and jerseys. And we went to them and said, hey, we're looking to get some really cool jerseys for our players who are going to be hitting the road. And Headlines is a company that is really extremely values-driven. And they said, you know what? We want you guys to look good. We're going to donate a full uniform set for all of your players, customized with their name and their number. We're going to donate clothing for all of your volunteers. Actually, this shirt I'm wearing right now is one that they came up with. That was like $9,000 in uniforms and clothing that they 100% donated towards our cause, which was really great. Our families also got super creative and did some fundraising on their own, which helped to drive down that cost. Some of our players who have jobs, they actually went to their employers and said, hey, I'm making this trip to Pigeon Forge. Would you be willing to help sponsor my fee to go? And their companies would help sponsor them. My favorite story, we actually had a family that had an old fence in their backyard that they were getting ready to tear down. So they tear down this wooden fence, and they used all of the wood to build birdhouses. And they built like 26 birdhouses, which we sold at one of our events out at the Miracle League fields, and they ended up raising like $750 to help us provide for this trip, just by an old fence that they were going to tear down anyway, that they turned into an unbelievable project.
That is so cool.
Yeah. I mean, it was
Oh,
really
this is
amazing.
cool.
And the other thing that we did that was a big help, we have an event that we host at Top Golf in our community. It's called Leading Ladies Night Out. And we, at this year's event, we had these two big, huge suitcases, and they had luggage tags all over them. And these luggage tags all had different things on them. So one would say a hotel room, $250. Or we had another one that said, a team snack, $20. We had, I think, a baseball glove at $75. And people could actually grab these luggage tags and they could buy these items for our players. And we ended up having, I think we raised about $3,500 just on those donations. So there's lots of ways to get creative and make these trips a reality. But the common thread behind all of it is finding those people who have the common heart, the common dream, to want to see our players get the chance to play the game under the big lights. And that's what we got to do. It didn't get any bigger than what we did in Pigeon Forge this year, and we're excited to replicate that this upcoming year, too.
I think one of the repetitive topics that comes up in our podcasts here is every time we're talking to another executive director, somebody who's involved in the Miracle League, who runs a Miracle League, I always mention how we find out real quick how we're all kind of cut of the same cloth.
Yeah.
We're kind of birds of a feather. And I love that, because when you get to meet, people like you, people like Tim, all the friends that we've made and we've networked with over the years here, it kind of reinvigorates you and kind of lets you double down a little bit. And you're like, okay, we really, we're doing a great thing now. We got to keep it going. And then once we keep raising the bar, we can't fall short of that, right? We got to,
You're right.
We got to keep going. But my question to you is a more personal one, because obviously I share this love for what we do, the same that you have. What is the most rewarding part of your job, of your work? What's that thing that really drives you every single day as an executive director of a Miracle League?
I think back to that moment that I told you about when I first emceed this charity softball game, and that game was played on a dirt baseball field, right? Dirt, grass, and really unsafe for our players, because at the time we were in the process of building the field. And I think that I took for granted how lucky I've been in my life to not have to deal with some of those things, right? Like I can go run around on a regular baseball field, and it's not it is a danger to me because I'm a horrible athlete, but in theory, it should not be a dangerous field. But I saw players and families who had spent, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on wheelchairs and walkers and assistive devices, and, hitting a rock that's not supposed to be in the dirt could do tremendous damage to that to that device, and could really be a danger to that individual's health. I think about that moment a lot, and I think about wanting to keep this place going long after I'm gone, right? I want to be looking down from up above 200, 300, 400 years from now, and our facility's even bigger, even better, and there's more fields, and there's more people playing, and more people who thought they'd never get to play the game of baseball getting to play it. We've got a dream right now. We're trying to build an indoor recreational facility. It'll be about a 30,000 square foot indoor facility for athletes with physical and developmental disabilities. And seeing what our players have been able to do out on the field motivates me in a big way to want to give them a year-round home. I've seen players who are completely paralyzed from the neck down hit a baseball at our facility. I've seen blind players who can use a beat ball, or who can touch the ball on a tee and visualize where it's at and be able to make contact. Those are things that in our world should not happen, but because we've got awesome dreamers, because we've got really generous people that get behind those dreams, it all comes together in a really beautiful way. And, anytime I see that, I'm just, yes, it's awesome for my job, but I'm invigorated at the soul level personally. Yeah. Because these are things that are true miracles that I get to see on a daily basis. So seeing the happiness of our players, seeing them get to celebrate a home run and toss their hat in the air, and ultimately getting to know awesome people like you all and Tim Gebhardt and all these incredible folks that we've connected with throughout this journey. It's a better job than I ever could have envisioned. There's no place that I would rather spend my time. So those are the things that keep me going. And then, personally, at the end of the day, Joe Nuxhall was one of my heroes. And getting the chance to carry on a legacy that he was responsible for, I don't deserve that opportunity, but I get it, and I'm thankful for it. And it's a really, really awesome job for me.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I can echo the same sentiment. I didn't set off on a career, saying I want to run a miracle league, but here I am today doing it. 10 years later, 10 years in with this role, and I couldn't see myself anywhere else doing doing this type of work. And yeah, it's invigorating. Just as you were saying, to know that I've had conversations with parents where they've told me that, the doctor told them at birth, like, your kid's never going to walk.
Right.
And to see them not just walk, but stand there like strong and swing a bat and hit the ball consistently. It just boggles your mind with what our kids are capable of doing if we just give them the opportunity.
Our world needs more of that. And I'm real convinced. There's a lot of people that are angry and mad in our world, but I'm convinced if we could get everybody to come to a Miracle League somewhere in their neck of the woods for just 1 hour,
yep,
I think a lot of that stuff would go away, right? Because it's impossible to come out to the Miracle League fields, whether it's the Joe Nuxhall Miracle League fields here in Cincinnati or Mercer County, like wherever you go, it's impossible to go there and not walk away with a smile or not walk away feeling better about what's happening in our neighborhoods. And I just really think there's got to be a way. Maybe we need a Miracle League network and just put games out there for people to watch, on a 24-hour loop instead of watching the news and all the bad stuff. Let's watch this instead.
Let's get on it.
That's Harrison. That's your next project.
There you go.
Just squeeze that in between science and math class. Start a Miracle League television network. That's your next job. But yeah, it's too good to not love.
Going back to what you said, Dan, earlier, we've had players take their first step without their wheelchair or their walker on our field.
Isn't that awesome?
And in fact, built our new field. Eric was the one that came up with the awesome idea of having chalk on cover up be written on the old field.
Yeah.
And one of our players wrote, "I took my first steps here."
How about that? Yeah, I mean that's a life-changing moment to see players that do things that, number one, they've been told their entire life they can't do it, but to do it in a place it's not just their home, it's not just their but this is a sports facility where you're not going to walk, you're definitely not going to do this kind of stuff. To give them that opportunity is just, it's incredible. And we've got one player in particular, and he's gonna love that I give him a shout out. He's kind of the Cincinnati version of Harrison. His name's Hunter Phelps. Ironically starts with an H, but Hunter is in a wheelchair, and one of my favorite moments, he started in our youth league. He's now a player in our adult league. But he plays in both, and he actually comes back and he coaches our youth league now, and he will actually stand up out of his wheelchair and he'll wave people around third base into home, and that's an image when I think of our facility. Like, that's one of the images I see in my head is Hunter and his friends doing things like that they weren't supposed to do. It's a really cool feeling.
Don't say that they weren't supposed to do that.
You're right.
They
can
right. do that.
You're exactly right, Harrison.
My man.
It's not impossible.
You got that right, brother. You got that right.
Well, Tyler, thank you so much for spending the time with us. That's a half hour already that just kind of flew by.
Yeah,
just talking about Miracle League. It's so much fun, and I appreciate you, brother. I mean, getting the chance to finally meet you this summer was awesome. After all the conversation we've had over the last year and a half, 2 years, I'm proud and happy to call you a friend now, and I I'm just so excited about the things we're going to continue to do together between you, me, Timmy, and Julia in Florida, and Layla in Milwaukee, and everyone. But
it's good stuff. We're going to keep it going, and like you and I talked about, you got an open invite anytime you want to get your players here to Cincinnati, and Harrison. We've got 2 fields at our place. I'll give you your pick, and I'll have a spot in one of our press boxes just waiting for you to do some live broadcasts here from Cincinnati. Does that sound like a good plan?
Good plan.
Bring your credentials, though. I'm going to check you at the gate.
That's great. I love that.
Well, thanks, guys, for having me. This was a really awesome conversation. This was a ton of fun.
It was our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Harrison, take us out of here.
All right. This is Baseball Brain Podcast. I'm Harrison Milo alongside Dan Schweck and Tyler Bradshaw, the executive director of the Joe Nuxhall American League Fields. Our guest for this episode, we're signing off.
Baseball is great and I want to play it so much, but it's hard for me. Sometimes it can be too tough. I'd give anything just to come up to the plate and swing. Then I heard about a really cool thing coming to our town. They're gonna build a field so kids like me can get around. Everybody's pitching in, looks like we're gonna win. It's a miracle to me. I'm playing baseball, it's a sight to see. We got it all under the lights. I'm a star